Border Patrol running and hiding. I want people to live in this country with their heads up. I want them to be able to, if they're going to work here, to work legally. I want them to be able to pay the same taxes, live under the same laws, and also to be able to have the kind of sense of liberty that this country is bound by. That's what we're trying to achieve. Let's not forget that our federal government has made a mess of this. As a governor, I had to deal with their mess. And I believe as president, one of the highest priorities is to fix the problem.
I want to talk about your past as a Baptist minister and your faith. You've talked about your faith being your life. You went to the late Jerry Falwell's Liberty University and were asked about your political success. And you said there's only one explanation for it. It's not a human one, suggesting divine intervention. Then here in Iowa, you have two ads that are on the air. Let's just watch excerpts of both of those.
Faith doesn't just influence me, it really defines me. I don't have to wake up every day wondering, what do I need to believe? At this time of year, sometimes it's nice to pull aside from all of that and just remember that what really matters is the celebration of the birth of Christ.
And you take that speech, Governor, suggesting divine intervention on your behalf in a political campaign, an ad where you describe yourself as a Christian leader, an ad where many thought a cross was superimposed behind your back.
It was not. It was a bookshelf. I wish we were so smart. I really do.
And then this comment, I hope we answer the alarm clock and take this nation back for Christ.
Which was, by the way, that phrase was one I think was 1998. Is that when it was? The 1998 speech?
Yeah.
To the Southern Baptist Convention. So it was a speech made to a Christian gathering. And certainly that would be appropriate to be said to a gathering of Southern Baptists.
But where does this leave non-Christians?
Oh, it leaves them right in the middle of America. I think the Judeo-Christian background of this country is one that respects people not only of faith, but it respects people who don't have faith. The key issue of real faith is that it never can be forced on someone. And never would I want to use the government institutions to impose mine or anybody else's faith or to restrict. I think the First Amendment, Tim, is explicitly clear. Government should be restricted, not faith, government. And government's restriction is on two fronts. One, it's not to prefer one faith over another. And the second, it's not to prohibit the practice of somebody's religion.
So you'd have
period.
no problem appointing atheists to your cabinet?
No, I wouldn't have any problem at all appointing atheists. I probably had some working for me as a governor. You know, I think you got to realize, if people want to say, well, you were a pastor, but I was a governor 10.5 years. I had more executive experience running a government. I was actually in a government position longer than I was a pastor. And if people want to know how I would blend these issues, the best way to look at it is how I served as a governor. I didn't ever propose a bill that we would remove the Capitol Dome of Arkansas and replace it with a steeple. You know, we didn't do tent revivals on the grounds of the Capitol. But my faith is important to me. I try to be more descriptive of it. I just don't want to run from it and act like it's not important. It drives my views on everything from the environment to poverty, to disease, to hunger. Issues, frankly, I think the Republicans need to take a greater leadership role in. And as a Republican, but as a Christian, I would want to make sure that we're speaking out on some of these issues that I think we've been lacking in as a party and as a nation.
Peggy Noonan, a woman of faith who writes for the Wall Street Journal, said that sometimes it appears your philosophy is this is what God wants. And that doesn't encourage discussion, it squelches it. And this is what you wrote in your book, Kids Who Kill, in 1998. It is now difficult to keep track of the vast array of publicly endorsed and institutionally supported aberrations, from homosexuality and pedophilia to sadomasochism and necrophilia. Why would you link homosexuality with sadomasochism, pedophilia, and necrophilia?
Well, what I was pointing out is all of these are deviations from what has been the traditional concept of sexual behavior and men and women having children, raising those children in the context of a traditional marriage and family. And again, taken out of the larger context of that book, speaking about how so many of our social institutions have been broken down.
But do you think homosexuality is equivalent to pedophilia,
sadomasochism? No, of course not.
Well, this is what concerns people. This is what you did say about homosexuality. Quote, I feel homosexuality is an aberrant, unnatural, and sinful lifestyle. That's millions of Americans.
Tim, understand when a Christian speaks of sin, a Christian says all of us are sinners. I'm a sinner, Everybody's a sinner. What one's sin is means it's missing the mark. It's missing the bullseye, the perfect point. I miss it every day. We all do. The perfection of God is seen in a marriage in which one man, one woman live together as a couple committed to each other as life partners. Now, even married couples don't do that perfectly. So sin is not some act of equating people with being murderers or
But when you say
rapists.
someone is aberrant or unnatural, do you believe you're born gay or you choose to be gay?
I don't know whether people are born that way. People who are gay say that they're born that way. But one thing I know, that the behavior one practices is a choice. We may have certain tendencies, but how we behave and how we carry out our behavior. But the important issue that I want to address, because I think when you bring up the faith question, Tim, I've been asked more about my faith than any person running for president. I'm okay with that. I hope I've answered these questions very candidly and very honestly. I think it's important for us to talk about it. But the most important thing is to find out, does our faith influence our public policy, and how? I've never tried to rewrite science textbooks. I've never tried to come out with some way of imposing a doctrinaire Christian perspective in a way that is really against the Constitution. I've never done that.
But you said you would ban all abortions.
Well, that's not just because I'm a Christian. That's because I'm an American. Our founding fathers said that we're all created equal. I think every person has intrinsic worth and value.
But many Americans believe that would be you imposing your faith beliefs.
It's not a faith belief. It's deeper than that. It's a human belief. It goes to the heart of who we are as a civilization. If I believe that your intrinsic worth is not changed by your ancestry, your last name, by your IQ, by your abilities or disabilities, if I value your life and respect it with dignity and worth because it is human, then that's what draws me to the inescapable conclusion that I should be for the sanctity of every and each human life. That's why we go after that 12-year-old boy in the woods of North Carolina when he's lost, not because he has greater worth than someone else, but because we believe he has equal worth as everyone else. I like it that in this country we treat each other, at least we should, with that sense of equality. Our founding fathers pinned that in the Declaration of Independence when they declared.
Some Americans believe that life does not begin at conception, and that it's impossible.
Well, scientifically, I think that's almost a point that you couldn't argue. How could you say life doesn't begin at conception?
Do you respect that
biologically?
Do you respect that view?
I respect it as a view, but I don't think it has biological credibility.
And what would happen to doctors or women who participate in abortion?
It's always the point of trying to say, are you going to criminalize? That's not the issue.
Well, if it's illegal, it would be.
It would be, and I think you don't punish the woman, first of all, because it's not about, I consider her a victim, not a criminal.
But you would punish the doctor.
I think if a doctor knowingly took the life of an unborn child for money, and that's why he was doing it, yeah, I think you would find some way to sanction that doctor. I don't know that you'd put him in prison, but there's something to me untoward about a person who has committed himself to healing people and to making people alive who would take money to take an innocent life and to make that life dead. There's something that just doesn't ring true about the purpose of medical practice when the first rule of the Hippocratic Oath is, first, do no harm. Well, if you take the life and suction out the pieces of an unborn child for no reason other than its inconvenience to the mother, I don't think you've lived up to your Hippocratic Oath of doing no harm.
October, you told me you were going to win the Iowa caucuses, are you?
Oh, I hope so, Tim. I really do. I mean,
no, you said you were.
Well, Thursday night I'll let you know, but let me tell you this. We're being outspent 20-1 here. If we do, you're going to have a political story like you've never had coming out of Iowa on Friday morning.
Would it be a miracle?
By my definition, yes, it would.
Governor Huckabee,
I'm on record. Yes, it would.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tim.